This basic Anthro plush pattern is ready to print on A4 paper, and it comes in 2 different sizes. You can find the link in the description below. Now let's jump right into the tutorial. Since this is just a basic pattern, feel free to explore your own markings and colors. Have fun with it. You can also use a pre-made furry skull mask for the head. I downloaded some free 3D print files and printed them out. If you'd like to see more add-ons like tails, wings, or horns, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and sub. Thanks for watching.
Bye bye.